Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Ron Walker's latest market prophecy video. You know, the one where every candle means the end of civilization, every gap must be filled, and somehow the Fed is both villain and the hero at the same time.
For today, we didn't get that. Again, you've got a couple of jobs reports now. Again, when we get the jobs reports, you're likely going to see negative numbers. Saw consumer sentiment decline on concerns about the government shutdown, which is what I told you was going to happen. I told you back on October 14th, 2 weeks into the shutdown, this thing was going to be the longest shutdown in history, and it's going to go on longer than everybody thinks. That's now being reflected in the consumer sentiment that we got today, which is also predicting we're about to move into recession. Again, having all these flights.
So Ron starts off sounding like a man giving a weather report for doomsday. Oh, the stock market sold off. Oh, the S&P was down 1%. Oh, then it went back up to fill the gap. Oh, the sell-off is not over yet. Honestly, if I closed my eyes, I would think I'm listening to a guy describing a car that's almost crashed, recovered, and then crashed again and recovered, but still has a topping tail. He says fill the gap so many times, I thought maybe he's talking about his dentist appointment.
In the consumer sentiment that we got today, which is also predicting we're about to move into recession. And having all these flights canceled now, all these programs are at risk going into the Thanksgiving Day holiday. You're getting all these flights canceled. Some flights, government shutdown is being done to try to create chaos, try to create pain, eventually trying to create a recession, to cause a recession ahead of the midterm elections.
Okay, then comes the classic. We are heading into a recession. Apparently, this is because consumer sentiment dropped and flights got cancelled. So now, cancelled flight is equal to recession confirmed. He says the government is creating pain and chaos just to cause a recession before the election. Bro, if chaos got recession, then we would have had recession like 400 recession already by now.
The S&P 500, it gaps lower, and then it went back up to fill the gap. 67.22 was the gap from yesterday. We closed slightly higher, up 0.13%, up about 8.5 points. And again, we're likely headed down to the 65.50 area. This is the neckline. This is the October 10th low where Trump rattled markets with threat of 100% tariff on China. You're likely forming this massive head and shoulder.
Okay. Now comes the Ron Walker's famous moving average trio of 10, 20, and 50 moving averages. He treats them like Avengers. As long as the 10 and 20 drop below the 50, the bearish alignment of the trio will destroy the market. I'm just waiting for him to say, and then MACD joins the fight. He spends 10 minutes moving lines, erasing them, redrawing them. He even admits his annotation move on its own. I swear, his charts have more plot twist than Game of Thrones.
Got the sell off. I'll be watching some of these gaps. Let me just move my annotations. I love these charts and the way they look, but you hit save on them and annotations move and trend lines move. Drives me bananas. Chickens.
Over here, he is blaming that his annotations are moving on their own. So it's kind of funny.
The head and shoulders that I'm looking at here. And maybe this gives us a bounce, back to the 20 or back to the 10, even back up into the momentum cloud here. And then we go lower if we attempt to fill the next gap above at 67.96. Got a gap above that at 68.52. I'll be watching these gaps. If we can make our way up towards the 10 or 20 period moving average.
Okay, then comes his legendary head and shoulders obsession. For Ron Walker, every chart looks like a head and shoulder. S&P, head and shoulder. NASDAQ, head and shoulder. Dow Jones, head and shoulder. Bitcoin, triple head and shoulders with 5 heads, 6 shoulders, and 1 arm missing. If you pause the video, you can literally hear him whisper, "Do you see the neckline?" I'm starting to think he looks for head and shoulder patterns even in his serials.
October 29th, and I thought that we had peaked. We slammed into major resistance on Tuesday, and then with the Fed, we slightly overthrew that resistance in the weekly time frame. I think we're headed back down towards these April lows, and I think we'll be there by January. I hear.
Okay, now the real fun begins. Ron Walker announces we are going to drop 30%, maybe 40%, maybe the whole market will disappear. Bitcoin will crash 90%, NASDAQ will crash 80%, and S&P will crash 70%. Basically, if you follow him, you should sell your house, live in a tent, short your neighbor's car. He says, I called the top on October 29, the Fed day. My friends, he calls the top every week, every day. So one day he will finally be right. Statistically guaranteed.
Tech bubble, NASDAQ 100 crashed about 83%. P is NASDAQ Junior. It's probably going to crash more than 50%. The last couple of bear markets, 51%, 57%. You'll see at least 60, 65, 70% decline on the S&P 500.
This is totally hilarious. I don't need to comment on it. Anyway, then we somewhere get the emotional part. Please support the channel. I don't take sponsors because I don't want to sell you anything except fear. Fear is his main product. He's not like EIP who is, giving the perfect signals. He is calling the tops and bottoms right. He says he's recording from the hospital bed. Imagine the nurse is walking in and he's like, "Nurse, bring me my RSI divergence. The market is turning bearish." That guy is just hilarious.
Drop close to that towards our 200-week moving average. And that's where we drop down to back over here. That's where we found support over here. You got to take out that 200-week, by the way, to validate the bear market. The 200-week in the weekly, lose the 50-month in the monthly. Bounced off those levels.
Nonsense. Then he drops the word like divergences, oscillator, histogram, momentum cloud, MACD rolling over. At this point, it sounds less like a financial analysis and more like a weather forecast for robots. I mean, everybody would get tired halfway through trying to follow all of his 50 moving averages. He says things like, we have gravestone doji confirming the topping tail, validated by bearish histogram. Bro, that sounds like Harry Potter spell.
Validate the bear market. The 200-week in the weekly, lose the 50-month in the monthly. Bounced off those levels in 2022. That's why all these people telling us we had a bear market back then. That's not a bear market. Dropped more than 20%. So what? We dropped more than 20% during the pandemic, 3.5 weeks. Was that the shortest bear market in history over here? No. Percentage move does not define a bear market. Take out the 200-week, you got to take out the 50-month. That defines the bear market. We get a percentage drop similar to this, though. You could drop back down to the 200-week.
Anyway, Ron predicts that by January we will drop 30%. The Fed will panic, then rally, then drop again, then fill another gap, then the 10 and 20 will cross, and then the 50 will get jealous. Basically, the future looks like a roller coaster designed by someone who hasn't slept in 3 days and is in hospital, and I don't think he's even surrounded by nurses. So every Ron Walker video is the same recipe. Say the sell-off is not over yet. Mention a pattern. Blame the Fed. Predict a crash. Ask for donation. Tell the viewers they are lucky to hear from him because no one else called the top. It's like Groundhog Day, but with charts. So to summarize, Ron Walker says the market is doomed, the Fed will panic, the world will end, and if you don't donate, he might not have enough bandwidth to warn you again tomorrow. He ends by saying, signals remain bearish. Of course they do, Ron. Your soul is bearish. And as soon as, the guy, he posted a video, the stock market rallied. Because this video is from, I think, 2 days ago. Yes, it is from 2 days ago. The stock market rallied. Basically, at the very bottom of the market, he was calling the top on. He was calling a crash at the very bottom of the market on Friday. In my group, we bought the Friday bottom. We are long and we have a full strategy through a neural networking model that I have developed. How are we going to trade intraday? So if you want to join the group, you can watch my video. I'm the only guy who has made over $2 million in verified trading profits. And I'm not kidding. See you guys next time.